Waiting for this to go through. Let's see. Okay, the PC house working. Wow. You should be able to hear me. You should be able to see me. Good morning, everyone. It is your boy Kicking It with Timmy B. I have some breaking news to broadcast to you folks. It looks like there is a ongoing military operation in the Middle East involving the U.S., Iran, and Israel. Today is 2/28/2026. That's February 28, 2026. Super early in the morning. I was awakened to this news that it seems like this war with Iran is ongoing. I'm getting information that the Iranian people have finally risen up and have overtaken their government ran by the Ayatollah and the IRGC. Wow. So I have a few articles and a couple videos here along with an announcement by President Trump. It's like an 8-minute video. We'll try to get to that at the end of this broadcast. But if any of this information is informative to you, please hit the like, share, and the subscribe button so this information can get out there so we can help inform the people. This is our Kiwtb news broadcast. And yes, let's get into this. So we have an article by Fox News. The headline is Historic U.S.-Israel Strikes on Iran Underway as Tehran faces regime survival test. That is called Operation Roaring Lion. Reportedly targets compound linked to Supreme Leader Khamenei and opening wave. And we also have an Operation Epic Fury as well, stated in my title. If that's an error, I will definitely make that correction. So it goes into Israelis awoke Saturday to the news that Operation Roaring Lion had begun. I think Operation Roaring Lion is like from their standpoint. I think Operation Epic Fury is from our standpoint. But I digress. Had begun with joint American-Israeli strikes targeting military sites inside Iran. Within hours, satellite images circulated in Israeli media appearing to show damage to the compound associated with Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei, reportedly struck in the opening wave. That's insane. Air raid alerts were activated across parts of the country as Iran launched missile barrages in response. According to an Israeli military official speaking on background, the incoming fire amounted to more in the dozens per round, though no significant impacts have been reported at the time of the briefing. Homefront Command urged civilians to follow updated safety instructions and avoid sharing real-time locations of missile strikes. So it seems like there was a strike on the compound of the Ayatollah. So they knew where this guy was at. And it seems that they launched some kind of ordnance on this compound. So that's insane to finally go after the Ayatollah. He has a lot of rhetoric against the United States, saying death to the United States, death to Israel, and he seems to be a head figure in coordinating the proxies around the world, around the like Middle East, with Hamas and Hezbollah and all these other folks to just cause terror. It's very interesting, and seems to have funded a lot of these people with the information that I have gathered throughout my time doing this this news thing that we do here. So let's get back into it. So it seems like these missiles have actually, it seems like Iran has launched missiles into like Israel, and Israel has an Iron Dome, so that's something that they use for protection. But along with military assets that are able to intercept any incoming fire to the Jewish state and our military bases and allies in the Middle East. So we get back into it. In a video message on Saturday morning, President Donald Trump condemned Tehran's role in regional instability, saying from Lebanon to Yemen to Syria to Iraq, the regime has armed, trained, and funded terrorist militias that have soaked the earth with blood and guts. And it was Iran's proxy, Hamas, that launched the monstrous October 7th attacks on Israel, slaughtering more than 1,000 innocent people, including 46 Americans, or taking 12 of our citizens hostage. And it was brutal, something like the world has never seen before. He added, Iran is the world's #1 state sponsor of terror and has always been the policy of the United States, in particular my administration, that this regime can never have a nuclear weapon. I'll say it again, they can never have a nuclear weapon. Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, added that the nation, warning that in the coming days we will be required to show resilience. His remarks reflected a broader message from Israeli leadership, framing the operation as necessary and potentially prolonged. So that's just a little bit from Fox News. I'll leave this article in the description below. We're going to go see what else that we have here. We have Reuters here. Article from Reuters. We'll go check this out. And it goes, U.S. and Israel launched a preemptive attack against Iran. That was on the 27th, so that was at 11:34 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So it's funny. I was on a conversation like with a friend of mine, and it felt like something was off, but just caught up in my own everyday life. It's interesting that was going on. That this started at 11:34 at night, and the time zones are very different from the United States to the Middle East. So this was like an attack that started in the daytime. So I just wanted to bring that up. So you have a picture here. Smoke rises from following an explosion after Israel said it launched a preemptive attack against Iran and Tehran. Iran, February 28th, 2026. Let's see here. Let's get another picture here. So it just has these this picture with these buildings, civilian buildings, in the lower half of the frame with the open sky. But you can see these plumes of smoke, of brown smoke. Let's see, and we have people here. People run for cover following an explosion after Israel said it launched a preemptive attack against Iran and Tehran. This is a picture in Iran, February 28, 2026. It's interesting because it seems like the United States was not the one to initiate this, or it seems like Iran wasn't the one that initiated this. It seems like Israel is the one responsible for what's going on here. It's very, very interesting. 1 second, folks. I'd like to say I would like peace between the three countries, the Middle East, the United States, or Northern America with the Middle East. I would love some peace. So let's continue. So we have another picture. It's the lower frame or mid frame of a mountain in the background, or the mountains of Tehran, I would assume. So this is the smoke rises, and like along with these apartment buildings, there's people. There's like certain people on these apartment rooftops with smoke in the background, with a blue sky with clouds out there. Interesting. It's just broad daylight that they're that this is all happening. So smoke rises following an explosion after Israel's defense minister Israel Katz said Israel had launched a preemptive attack against Iran and Tehran, February 28th, 2026, and this screen grab taken from the video. Okay, and then we have another picture of some civilians here walking down the street. It looks like this would be in Iran. So Reuters goes, February 28th, Israel said it launched a preemptive attack against Iran on Saturday, pushing the Middle East into a renewed military confrontation and further dimming hopes for a diplomatic solution to Tehran's long-running nuclear dispute in the West. I have a video on my channel. I spoke about the JCPOA act. Is like this nuclear act that Iran agreed to, that they would have these inspectors that would go out to look at what they had, all of their nuclear facilities, to see how much that they were enriching in uranium and so on and so forth. Well, there was a point where they were okay with it, and then you could see they further moved away from that, and they wouldn't allow these inspectors to take a look at what they had, and that raised the conflict, meaning or leading up to them exiting that pact, which is pretty crazy because I mean, if you want to have nuclear weapons, and there needs to be some kind of agreement on that. That's way too into this. But if you're going to do something like that, it needs to be known that you're working with others. So there's like a common ground of what you're doing, because otherwise no one knows what you're doing, and you're building these facilities in, like, you're embedding these facilities in the mountain, or in these like crazy tall mountains underground. No one knows what you're doing, and it leads people to believe that something else is going on. So I just want to bring that up. I don't know the name of the video, but if you want to go check that out, you should be able to see that on my YouTube channel at Kicking It with Timmy B. So I get back into this. New York Times, citing a U.S. official, reported that the U.S. strikes on Iran were underway. A source told Reuters that Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was not in Tehran and had been transferred to a secure location. So we just read from Fox News that the location that he was at was hit. Now we're hearing on Reuters that he was moved. So, is this guy still alive here? Like, what's going on? Because he is like supposedly the head of this snake, and you get rid of him along with his folks below him in the IRGC and with the Iranian government, or some of these folks that are, I guess, bad people in their government. I mean, that would be what should I say, like critical for, I guess, US or Israel forces to be able to like nab him or take him out. Anyway, so the attack coming from Israel and Iran, engaged in a 12-day air war in June. And like, it's so crazy. President Donald Trump's like, yeah, man, we like stop that war. And then just like, it's all coming back now. Like it like never stopped. But follows repeated U.S. Israeli warnings that they would strike again if Iran pressed ahead with its nuclear ballistic missile programs. Quote, the state of Israel launched a preemptive attack against Iran to remove threats to the state of Israel, the defense minister Israel Katz said. An Israeli defense official said that the operation had been planned for months in coordination with Washington, and that the launch date was decided weeks ago. So I felt like there was something that was going to happen by the end of this month, February or whatever, and it's literally February 28th. And these peace talks, I didn't really think that they were going to go anywhere, and I don't think a lot of people did too. And it seemed like they were the Iranian government were kind of prolonging things. And it's just so crazy because there's like these journalists out there that were saying that this wasn't going to happen. And it's like, dude, you guys don't know anything. And it seemed like they were making a joke of it. And this isn't something that you make a joke of. These are like people's lives on all different sides that are in the crosshairs here. So just me pointing that out. Explosions were heard in Tehran on Saturday, the Iranian media reported, and sirens sounded across Israel around 08:15 local time, and what the military said was a proactive alert to prepare the public for possibility of an incoming missile strike. The Israeli military announced that the closure of schools and workplaces, with exceptions of essential sectors, and a ban on public airspace. Israel closes airspace to civilian flights, and the airport's authorities asked that the public not to go to any of the country's airports because they are going to be seen as targets. I think that was like when October 7th happened. I think there was some kind of airport. I don't know if it was like Tel Aviv or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there was one of the main airports in Israel that was, I guess, under attack or something like that. Very interesting. But they use those as like soft or hard targets to go after people. So anyway, the U.S. and Iran renewed negotiations in February in a bid to resolve the decades-long dispute through the diplomacy and avert the threat of a military confrontation that could destabilize the region. Israel, however, insisted that any U.S. deal with Iran must include the dismantling of Tehran's nuclear infrastructure, not just stopping the enrichment process, and lobbied Washington to include restrictions on Iran's missile program in the talks. Iran said it was prepared to discuss curbs on its nuclear program in exchange for lifting sanctions for ruled out linking the issues to missiles. So my thing is, my understanding, they don't even really need any uranium. I think they have like a interesting, I need to brush up on it more, but they have enough power to be able to do what they need to do. They're enriching this uranium at like a really like fast pace, and it just doesn't add up unless they're doing something with it. And it just goes into does Iran deserve to have their own nuclear program? All these other different countries like Pakistan and so on and so forth, and Saudi Arabia, I'm pretty sure, have nuclear capabilities. Turkey does. Turkey's a part of NATO, and it just goes into, does this country deserve to have its own nuclear program? Does it deserve to have these missiles? Because that's like the deterrent that allows it to defend itself. But these people, these folks, this country or this government specifically of Iran is making these ballistic missiles, these missiles that are supposed to go pretty far. All they have to do is put some kind of nuclear warhead in these missiles, and it could do a lot of damage. So Tehran also said it would defend itself against any attack, and it warned neighboring countries hosting U.S. troops that it would retaliate against American bases if Washington struck Iran. In June, the U.S. joined an Israeli military campaign against Iranian nuclear installations in the most direct American military action ever against the Islamic Republic, with the Operation Midnight Hammer, with the B-2 bombers and the Moab ordnance dropping right onto these like Fordo and the two other nuclear facilities that they have out there. So Iran retaliated then by launching missiles toward the U.S. Al Udeid Air Base and Qatar, the largest in the Middle East, which is like insane to do. I'm sure that they were prepared for that by evacuating the non-essential personnel and then setting up some kind of missile interceptors along with the armada of like boats in the Red Sea and the neighboring waters to be able to intercept any of these missiles going to the U.S. bases that are out in the Middle East. So anyway, this is insane. Western powers have warned that Iran's ballistic missile project threatens regional stability and could deliver nuclear weapons if developed. Tehran denies seeking atomic weapons. So that being the case, that's Reuters. Shout out to Reuters. Now that we got like kind of like a read on what's going on, let's get some video on there. You know what I mean? Let's get some video of what's going on. Now, is this going to play this? Because I was hoping to save the speech for the end here. We're getting really close to the end of this broadcast, but I want to see, is this... what is the Hindustan time? No, we can't do that. No, we cannot do that. Is this the same one? I see it. This recording is not available. Okay. If available. Oh man. So these are like, okay, so we might actually have to go back to this. Let's see. Let me mute that. It's really loud.
Middle East, indicating a F-15E Strike Eagles are also part of.
This is like a little breakdown. I'm actually going to play this for a second here. And then I guess we're just going to watch what President Donald Trump had to say. I kind of got like a glimpse of it. It does not sound good. It does not sound good whatsoever. All right, let's go check this out. This is the Hindustan Times. Let's see what's going on.
Trump has been presented with more potential military options against Iran, suggesting planning is widening as the standoff hardens. Those options reportedly include plans to cause greater damage to Iran's nuclear sites or to weaken the regime, indicating a debate over limited strikes versus broader objectives. Meanwhile, Iran's Revolutionary Guards are ramping up their own firepower in preparation for a possible clash with America, signaling deterrence through readiness. Press TV reported that IRGC naval forces will carry out live-fire drills in the Strait of Hormuz in February, showcasing capabilities in a critical maritime choke point. The Associated Press reported Iran had already warned mariners last week about upcoming naval drills, implying Tehran is formally setting the stage for increased military activity. Earlier, to counter the US buildup, Iran reportedly deployed Fateh and Ghadir attack submarines, adding an undersea threat to complicate US naval operations. These deployments are reportedly concentrated along the Persian Gulf, including the Strait of Hormuz, increasing risk in a narrow corridor where encounters can escalate quickly.
Like, which is another thing, the Iranian government was putting boats out there to like lock down most of the Strait of Hormuz, which a lot of like critical supplies and so on and so forth go through their oil, like everything else. We're gonna bounce out of this. I wasn't feeling this. So we got Fox News here. I hate to just keep pulling up Fox News here, but they seem to be on it right now. Live now with Fox. Let's go see what's going on here.
What I want to do right now is bring in Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus, former IDF spokesperson, the Israel Defense Forces. Also,
I've seen this guy on Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan Uncensored. Piers Morgan Uncensored.
Senior fellow at the Foundation
He's about to show up
for
here.
Defense of Democracies and co-founder of Bottom Line Media as we discuss everything here. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us here.
Thank you, and my pleasure to be on.
And first off, I wanted to start by kind of asking you about this military campaign in general, because there were no leaks as far as we know. A lot of people knew this could potentially happen at some point. But when you hear that the U.S. and Israel have worked together to strike Iran, what's going through your mind as somebody who has been following all of this?
Well, I think that what we're seeing, and good morning or very good late night for Americans, what we're seeing is possibly a historic moment in the history of the Middle East. We're seeing the US and Israel conducting a joint strike against the Iranian regime with the outspoken aim of either severely limiting or striking the regime, or actually bringing about its downfall. That is what we're seeing, and it comes in the context of about 35 years of indirect war by the Iranian regime against Israel, of thousands, if not millions of times that the Iranian regime and people have chanted death to America and death to Israel and acted on those threats. And it comes after negotiations, real, honest negotiations on behalf of the US and the world with the Iranian regime have failed, and the Iranian regime failing to actually budge and really relinquish their aspiration for weapons of mass destruction. And now Israel and the US have taken action about almost 2 months after the American president promised the Iranian people that help is on the way. It appears now that help has indeed arrived. And President Trump, in his recorded statement, tells the Iranian people to stay in safe locations, but eventually that they will be able to reclaim their country from this oppressive and brutal regime that has controlled the Iranian people for the last 47 years. What I see currently is the Iranian regime trying to fire, trying to lash out in the region. They have hit targets or they're fired at targets in Israel, Jordan, the UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait, and Qatar. Still unconfirmed reports whether or not they've fired on Saudi Arabia. That seems quite desperate. They've fired quite a lot of missiles with...
Yeah, Iran and Saudi Arabia, they have like this crazy beef. It's unreal. They really don't like each other. It has to do with Sunni and the Shiites. I don't remember who's supposed to be who, but they have this opposing conflict that's been going on for however long. They really do not like each other.
Limited impact. All of the missiles that have been fired at Israel have not been effective, and there are so far, thankfully, no casualties in Israel. I suppose that will change, and I suppose the Iranians will fire more and more missiles, and eventually some of them will get through. But currently, no damage in Israel. And I'm very happy to say that so far, in terms of the safety and well-being of American and Israeli airmen or crew, everything seems to be going okay. Last word about targets and BDA. It is still unclear. We don't have confirmed reports on the
BDA's battle damage assessment. So after these missiles come in and they actually hit, there needs to be like a calm in the storm for them to go out and go assess what's going on. What's the infrastructure that's been destroyed? Who's, what's the casualties? Has been someone hurt? So on and so forth.
But I hear early assessments by Israeli officials that at least some of the political and military leaders that were targeted in the first salvo against the Iranian regime were indeed hit. But we'll have to wait and see exactly whom. The Iranians have said that the so-called supreme leader is safe, and they have also said that the foreign minister is safe. We don't know about the commanders of the IRGC. We still don't know about the very important advisor to the supreme leader, Larijani, if he is okay. There are a lot of targets there. Pezeshkian, the president, he was also targeted, I assume, and it's still unclear exactly the results. But historic times, and I think the early seeds of hope for the Iranian people.
One thing I wanted to ask, because you mentioned that Iran has essentially said the supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, is alive at this point. Is Iran's word trustworthy? Would they tell everyone if the supreme leader had been taken out in these strikes?
It's funny because a lot of people don't like what this Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus has to say. They have this bias or whatever because he used to serve in the Israeli like the IDF. So a lot of folks don't like to take his word for some of this stuff going on. I mean, I don't have any intel or I don't have any people over there, so it's like this is like the closest thing that we can get. So take it like a grain of salt, but this guy has a military background is something to take heed of.
No, I don't think that they would, because of the sensitivity and how much they understand that the life and well-being of the so-called supreme leader is very symbolic and important for the stability of the regime. I would assume that even if he had been eliminated, they would try to present a false pretense or
I do agree with that. Like I was gonna say that earlier. I mean, they could just say like, "Hey, he's all good. Yeah, he got moved all right, but he's really not. He's really not there, or he's really not with us." You know what I mean?
false stage as if he was alive until they could find a suitable succession and until they could, stabilize the regime. They would not want to admit that the supreme leader had been taken out before they're able to get their hands on the situation and present some kind of an alternative. But that is still too early to assess. We don't have any strong Israeli or American intel that suggests that he was indeed taken out. But I can assure you that all sensors are looking at that as we speak.
All right, folks, we're gonna get to the ending of this broadcast here. We have President Donald Trump. He's like giving his speech, or just like this Lieutenant Colonel said, it's a pre-recorded speech. We're gonna go check this out. If you're enjoying the video, if you're learning something from this, you're getting informed by this breaking and unfortunate news, please hit the like, share, and the subscribe button. Deeply appreciate it. I want to get this information out there as much as I can, as best as I can, to keep people informed.
The United States military
Here we go.
began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries. Among the regime's very first acts was to back a violent takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding dozens of American hostages for 444 days. In 1983, Iran's proxies carried out the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel. In 2000, they knew and were probably involved with the attack on the USS Cole. Many died. Iranian forces killed and maimed hundreds of American service members in Iraq. The regime's proxies have continued to launch countless attacks against American forces stationed in the Middle East in recent years, as well as U.S. naval and commercial vessels and international shipping lanes. It's been mass terror, and we're not going to put up with it any longer. From Lebanon to Yemen and Syria to Iraq, the regime has armed, trained, and funded terrorist militias that have soaked the earth with blood and guts. And it was Iran's proxy, Hamas, that launched the monstrous October 7th attacks on Israel, slaughtering more than 1,000 innocent people, including 46 Americans, while taking 12 of our citizens hostage. It was brutal, something like the world has never seen before. Iran is the world's #1 state sponsor of terror and just recently killed tens of thousands of its own citizens on the street as they protested. It has always been the policy of the United States, in particular my administration, that this terrorist regime can never have a nuclear weapon. I'll say it again, they can never have a nuclear weapon. That is why in Operation Midnight Hammer last June, we obliterated the regime's nuclear program at Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. After that attack, we warned them never to resume their malicious pursuit of nuclear weapons, and we sought repeatedly to make a deal. We tried. They wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. Again, they wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't know what was happening. They just wanted to practice evil. But Iran refused, just as it has for decades and decades. They've rejected every opportunity to renounce their nuclear ambitions, and we can't take it anymore. Instead, they attempted to rebuild their nuclear program and to continue developing long-range missiles that can now threaten our very good friends and allies in Europe, our troops stationed overseas, and could soon reach the American homeland. Just imagine how emboldened this regime would be if they ever had and actually were armed with nuclear weapons as a means to deliver their message. For these reasons, the United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests. We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated. We're going to annihilate their Navy. We're going to ensure that the region's terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region or the world and attack our forces and no longer use their IEDs or roadside bombs, as they are sometimes called, to so gravely wound and kill thousands and thousands of people, including many Americans. And we will ensure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon. It's a very simple message. They will never have a nuclear weapon. This regime will soon learn that no one should challenge the strength and might of the United States Armed Forces. I built and rebuilt our military in my first administration, and there is no military on earth even close to its power, strength, or sophistication. My administration has taken every possible step to minimize the risk to U.S. personnel in the region. Even so, and I do not make this statement lightly, the Iranian regime seeks to kill. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. But we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission. We pray for every service member as they selflessly risk their lives to ensure that Americans and our children will never be threatened by a nuclear-armed Iran. We ask God to protect all of our heroes in harm's way, and we trust that, with his help, the men and women of the armed forces will prevail. We have the greatest in the world, and they will prevail. To the members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the armed forces, and all of the police, I say tonight that you must lay down your weapons and have complete immunity, or, in the alternative, face certain death. So, lay down your arms. You will be treated fairly with total immunity, or you will face certain death. Finally, to the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand.
Wow.
Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take.
Wow.
This will be probably your only chance for generations.
Wow.
For many years, you have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do tonight.
That's insane.
Now you have a president who is giving you what you want. So let's see how you respond. America is backing you with overwhelming strength and devastating force. Now is the time to seize control of your destiny and to unleash the prosperous and glorious future that is close within your reach. This is the moment for action. Do not let it pass. May God bless the brave men and women of America's armed forces. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless you all. Thank you.
Man, it's crazy times. Absolutely crazy times, folks. I just want peace in the Middle East. That's all I've been wanting, man. All these people, we just bring all these people out there and just get freaking grind it down to the bone and come back with nothing. Either deformed or messed up or mentally messed up, or they just don't come back. And all these people are just, this is insane. But I definitely want some peace in the Middle East. It's the folks, the people of Iran deserve to have freedom, and they need to fight for it. And it seems like this is their time. It jeopardizes, it puts everybody in the world, but the people, like the armed forces, and the people in the surrounding area, in jeopardy by making this decision. These people need to act on it, and they need to take over. They need to take back their country, because these folks are running it. Their country is just terrible. It's just terrible people, and it's never going to stop. So anyway, it's your boy Kicking It with Timmy B. Thank you all for being here. I just wanted to give this emergency broadcast out here. I was kind of waiting a long time for this. I was hoping that it would not happen, but sadly, we are here. Let's see what happens in the future. I'm going to keep you folks updated, but I do have to get out of here. If I hear anything back of any significance, I'll be sure to report back with you. But I want to give it at least like 24 hours from now to see what the incoming news is and what's kind of solidified. That'll kind of determine how we go upon the show from there, or go about the show from there. So anyway, it's your boy Kicking It with Timmy B. If you've been informed by any of this, by this broadcast, please consider hitting the like, share, and a subscribe button. We're trying to do this more often by broadcasting the news and important information out here. Yes, it's 2/28/2026, the end of February. March is right upon us. Have a great morning, afternoon, evening, and I'll see you on the next episode of KIW